What happens when a young boy is unexpectedly asked to leave an airport, and the arrival of his mother turns everything around? This moment, involving Barron Trump and Melania, stunned everyone present, leaving onlookers grappling with questions they couldn't quite articulate. It wasn't just a scene, it was a moment that left a lasting impression on all who witnessed it. Imagine an airport, alive with the sounds of footsteps, hurried voices, and the constant churn of daily travel. In the middle of this ordinary day, a situation unfolded that no one anticipated. Barron Trump stood quietly, an image of composure, yet the tension around him was unmistakable. The staff's firm stance was clear, he was being asked to leave. Onlookers exchanged glances, their curiosity sparked. What could have led to this? Why was it happening now? As confusion deepened, the atmosphere grew heavier with uncertainty. Then, a shift. Melania Trump arrived, her presence calm yet commanding. She moved through the crowd with purpose, her focus solely on the scene ahead. In those moments, something changed, not just in the way people viewed the situation, but in how they felt. What followed was a powerful reminder of the quiet strength a parent can bring when their child needs them most. This story, while inspired by publicly available details, is a creative exploration meant to entertain and inspire. Before we dive further, let us know where you're watching from. And if you're as curious as we are about how this moment unfolded, like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating stories that bring life's unexpected moments to light. The airport that day hummed with the usual energy of travelers rushing to gates, announcements echoing overhead, and the faint buzz of conversations. Amid this backdrop, Barron Trump, accompanied by his security detail, moved through the terminal quietly. His tall frame, a familiar yet reserved presence, didn't immediately stand out in the crowd. The guards around him maintained a watchful but unobtrusive distance, their primary goal being to ensure his safety while avoiding any unnecessary disruption to those around him. As Barron approached a checkpoint, an unexpected interaction began to unfold. The airport staff, following standard procedures, seemed unaware of the heightened security measures required for someone in his position. Perhaps it was a glance too curious or a question too pointed that prompted his guards to act. They stepped in, their movements calculated and professional, placing themselves between Barron and the staff to prevent any potential intrusion on his privacy. The staff, likely misunderstanding the intentions of the security detail, appeared to grow uneasy. What began as a standard interaction now carried an edge of tension. Questions were raised, gestures exchanged, and within moments, a decision was made. Barron was asked to leave. The guards, trained to handle such situations swiftly, complied without protest, moving him away from the area to avoid further complications. But for the onlookers who had stopped mid-stride to watch, confusion filled the air. Was this a case of mistaken identity? An overreaction by the staff? Or was it simply a misunderstanding that had spiraled into something larger? The truth remained unclear, but the spectacle was enough to draw a mix of curiosity and concern from those witnessing it. In situations like these, security teams operate with a singular focus: protect. Their decisions are not driven by arrogance or privilege but by the responsibility of shielding their charge from even the slightest hint of risk. Could the airport staff have handled things differently if they'd known who they were dealing with? Or did the guards act too quickly, leaving little room for resolution? These are the kinds of questions that linger in moments like these. As the scene played out, it begged a deeper reflection. How often do we jump to conclusions when faced with something we don't fully understand? Do we pause to consider the perspectives of everyone involved, or do we let our assumptions shape the narrative? What do you think? Could this moment have been avoided with clearer communication, or was the outcome inevitable given the circumstances? As the staff's unease grew, so did the tension in the terminal. The initial misunderstanding had started as a routine inquiry but quickly took on a life of its own. Barron's quiet presence, coupled with the visible efforts of his security team to shield him from prying eyes, seemed to raise more questions than it answered. The staff, unaware of who Barron was or the protocols that governed his security, appeared increasingly determined to address what they likely perceived as unusual behavior. The guards, trained to act swiftly in uncertain situations, moved decisively. They stepped in front of Barron, creating a protective barrier that only added to the air of mystery surrounding the scene. Their intent was clear: to ensure his safety above all else. Yet to the staff, who lacked context, this might have seemed unnecessarily abrupt, if not confrontational. The exchange between the two sides grew sharper, though it never tipped into outright hostility. Words were exchanged in low tones, firm but measured. The staff, following standard procedures, seemed insistent on verifying Barron's presence and purpose. On the other hand, the guards were resolute, their actions leaving no room for negotiation. The bystanders who had initially passed by without a second glance now found themselves drawn into the unfolding drama, their expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. The confusion rippled outward, reaching those who had yet to witness the scene firsthand. Who was he? Some whispered, their questions tinged with equal parts intrigue and uncertainty. What's going on over there? Others wondered aloud, their steps slowing as they craned their necks for a better view. For many, it was the presence of the guards, their composed yet unwavering stance, that made the situation seem more significant than it might have otherwise appeared. But what was the staff thinking in that moment? Were they frustrated by what they saw as an unnecessary complication? Or were they simply trying to maintain control in an environment where they were accustomed to being in charge? And how did the guards view the exchange? Were they prepared to escalate further if it meant protecting Barron, or were they hoping for a peaceful resolution, just as the staff likely was? These questions lingered in the minds of those watching, their thoughts filling in the gaps left by the lack of visible context. The scene was tense but controlled, dramatic yet restrained. The public, unsure whether to approach or retreat, stood frozen, their collective silence amplifying the weight of the moment. What would you have done if you were in the shoes of the staff, unaware of the full story but tasked with ensuring order? And as a bystander, would you have intervened, or would you have stayed on the sidelines, watching the situation unfold? As Melania Trump entered the terminal, there was a noticeable shift in the energy around her. She didn't rush, nor did she make a grand gesture to draw attention. Yet, her calm and deliberate movements caught everyone's focus. Those who had been watching the tense interaction with Barron and the staff turned their attention to her, curiosity replacing the earlier confusion. How would she handle a situation that had already gone further than anyone anticipated? Melania approached her son first. She placed a hand gently on his shoulder and leaned in close to speak with him, her words quiet and meant only for him. Whatever she said seemed to reassure Barron, whose unease visibly softened. This small gesture wasn't just about comfort, it was her way of grounding the situation, bringing calm to a moment that had felt so charged with tension. Then she turned to the staff. Her tone was steady, respectful, but carried an unmistakable authority. She didn't raise her voice or demand compliance. Instead, she spoke with clarity, explaining the necessity of Barron's heightened security measures and the role of his guards in maintaining his safety. Her words weren't combative, they were factual and measured, leaving no room for further misunderstanding. The staff, who had been firm in their stance earlier, now seemed more at ease. Her explanation provided the context they hadn't previously understood. What had appeared to them as a rigid, unnecessary protocol now made sense. They nodded in acknowledgement, their earlier determination shifting into cooperation. Melania's approach wasn't about confrontation but about ensuring clarity and respect for everyone involved. Barron's security team, seeing the situation de-escalate, eased their protective stance slightly. Their focus remained unwavering, but there was now a clear understanding between all parties. The tension that had built up slowly unraveled, not through force but through thoughtful communication. Those watching from a distance couldn't help but be drawn into the way Melania handled the moment. She didn't just resolve the conflict, she demonstrated the strength of staying composed under pressure. Her focus on protecting her son while respecting the staff left a lasting impression on everyone present. It wasn't about making a scene or asserting power, it was about resolving the issue with dignity. Moments like these raise questions about how we approach conflict. Would we handle it with the same level of calm and understanding? Or would frustration or fear guide our actions? How often do we stop to consider the perspectives of everyone involved before drawing conclusions? As Melania and Barron moved on, the moment lingered with those who had witnessed it. It was more than just a resolution, it was a reminder of the importance of staying grounded, even in the most challenging situations. What would you have done in her place? Would you have been able to bring the same sense of control and understanding to such a public moment? As Melania's calm yet authoritative intervention concluded, the situation began to ease almost immediately. The airport staff, now understanding the circumstances more clearly, acknowledged the necessity of the heightened security measures. With clarity restored, the tension dissipated, and Barron, along with his security team, was allowed to proceed without further complications. What could have spiraled into an unresolved standoff instead ended with mutual respect and understanding. The guards, ever vigilant, maintained their composure as they followed Melania's lead. Their professionalism was evident. They stepped back, their actions signaling that the resolution had been achieved. It was clear that their intent was never to escalate but to ensure Barron's safety, a goal they met with steadfast dedication. Melania's involvement was pivotal in bridging the gap between the two sides, transforming confusion into cooperation. For those who had been watching, the moment left a range of impressions. Some quietly admired the seamless way the issue had been resolved. Others felt the incident had drawn unnecessary attention to something that could have been handled with more discretion from the start. Among the crowd were parents who empathized deeply with Melania's actions, recognizing her instinct to shield her son from discomfort and misunderstanding. As the onlookers reflected, many found themselves asking, how would they have reacted if they were in Melania's position? Could they have remained as composed under such public scrutiny? And as bystanders, what role should they play in such moments, silent observers, vocal participants, or something in between? The public perception extended beyond the terminal itself. Stories of the incident began circulating, each person adding their interpretation of what they had seen. While opinions varied, one thing remained constant: the situation highlighted how quickly misunderstandings can escalate and how crucial communication and composure are in de-escalating them. What does this story teach us? It's a reminder of the value of remaining calm when tensions are high and the importance of addressing conflict with clarity rather than assumption. How we choose to respond in moments of uncertainty can define not just the outcome but the impact it leaves behind. Now, let's turn the question to you: what would you have done in this situation? As a bystander, would you have stepped in to advocate for understanding, or would you have chosen to observe silently, hoping for a peaceful resolution? And as a parent, how would you balance protecting your child with navigating public scrutiny? The moment, as it unfolded, carried with it an undeniable sense of vulnerability. Barron, though part of one of the world's most recognized families, was still a young individual placed in a situation far beyond his control. His composure spoke volumes about his maturity, but it was Melania's quiet yet firm intervention that highlighted the depth of a mother's instinct to protect. For many who witnessed it, the scene served as a reminder that even public figures face personal challenges, ones that strip away titles and leave only the shared experiences of human emotion. What made this moment resonate wasn't the attention it garnered or the circumstances that led to it, but the way it was handled. Misunderstandings, particularly in high-pressure environments, can escalate quickly. But as Melania demonstrated, it's often not the situation itself but the response that defines the outcome. Her measured actions diffused what could have been a lasting point of conflict, transforming it into a moment of resolution and understanding. Now, think about yourself in a similar position. What would you have done if faced with a situation where you needed to stand up for your family in a public setting? How do you balance the instinct to protect with the need to maintain calm under scrutiny? These are questions that extend beyond this story and into everyday life, where moments of tension often require us to pause, reflect, and respond with clarity. This incident also serves as a broader reminder that misunderstandings are universal. Whether you're a public figure or not, unexpected challenges will arise. What matters most is how we choose to address them, with grace, understanding, and the patience to see past initial assumptions. It's a lesson that resonates across boundaries, reminding us of the power of communication and empathy in resolving conflicts. As we close, we want to hear your perspective. If you were Melania, how would you have approached this situation? Or if you were among the airport staff, how might you have handled the confusion? These aren't questions with easy answers, but they're worth considering. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to know what you think. And if you enjoyed this story, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more moments that explore the human side of life's unexpected twists. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an opportunity to reflect on stories that challenge assumptions and bring fresh perspectives. Sometimes, all it takes is one person stepping in with understanding to turn a misunderstanding into a moment of clarity. It's these instances of leadership, patience, and connection that remind us what truly matters. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to sharing more with you next time.